Lap 32. Michael Schumacher enters the pit lane. 80 kilometers per hour. The team isn't ready. The mechanics are still running. The tools aren't set. The tires aren't positioned. He doesn't slow down. He doesn't stop. He goes straight through, between them. They scatter, diving left, diving right, tools flying, helmets dropping. He exits the pit lane, still at 80. The pit stop that never happened. The pit stop that won him the race. This is the story of the moment Michael Schumacher broke every rule in Formula One and proved that sometimes not stopping is faster than stopping. Austria 2002. A1 ring. Race day. Michael Schumacher is leading. He's been leading since lap 1. The Ferrari is fast, faster than anyone expected, faster than it should be. But there's a problem. The tires. Formula One tires in 2002 don't last long. Maybe 25 laps, maybe 30 if you're smooth, maybe 35 if you're lucky. Michael is on lap 28. The rubber is gone, the tread is flat, the grip is disappearing with every corner. In the Ferrari garage, Ross Brawn watches the data. Tire temperature rising, tire pressure dropping, lap time slowing. He knows what's coming. Michael needs to pit. Michael, box this lap, Ross says over the radio. No response. Michael, tires are done, box this lap. Still no response. Ross frowns. Michael is thinking, calculating. If he pits now, he loses 22 seconds. That's the average pit stop time in 2002. 22 seconds of sitting still while the team changes tires, adds fuel, checks the car. 22 seconds where he's not moving. 22 seconds where the cars behind him are closing. Juan Pablo Montoya is in second place, 18 seconds back. If Michael pits, Montoya takes the lead, and Michael Schumacher does not give up the lead. Not willingly, not without a fight. Lap 30. Michael's tires are shredding. The front left is vibrating. The rear right is sliding. Every corner feels like ice. Michael, you need to pit. Tires critical, Ross says, his voice urgent now. Michael still doesn't respond, but his mind is working. What if he doesn't pit? What if he just keeps going? The tires will fail eventually, blow out, disintegrate, leave him stranded, but eventually isn't now, and now is all that matters. Lap 31. The front left tire is down to the canvas. The rubber is completely gone. He's driving on the inner structure. The tire that's not a tire anymore. It won't last another lap. Maybe not another corner. Michael. Box now. This is not optional, Ross says, his voice firm. Michael makes a decision. He's going to pit. But not the way they expect. Lap 32. Michael crosses the start-finish line. The pit entry is coming. 300 meters, 200, 100. He turns into the pit lane. Speed limiter. 80 kilometers per hour. Every car entering the pit lane must slow to 80. It's the rule, the law, the limit. Michael hits the limiter. 80 exactly. Not 79, not 81, 80. He enters the pit lane. In the Ferrari garage, the crew scrambles. They weren't expecting him this lap. Ross called for next lap. The tools aren't ready. The tires aren't positioned. The mechanics aren't in place. They're still running to their positions when Michael's car appears. Red, fast, not slowing. The chief mechanic sees him coming, raises his hand, the signal to stop. Michael doesn't stop. He keeps going, 80 kilometers per hour, straight down the pit lane. The mechanics freeze, then they scatter. The front jackman dives left, the rear jackman dives right. The tire changers drop their guns and jump back. One mechanic trips, falls, rolls out of the way. Michael's car passes through the Ferrari pit box, between them, where the car should have stopped, where the tires should have been changed, where 22 seconds should have been lost. He passes through in 2.1 seconds, the time it takes to drive through at 80 kilometers per hour. No stop, no tires, no fuel, nothing. The mechanics stand there, frozen, watching the car disappear down the pit lane. Tools on the ground, tires still stacked, jacks untouched. What just happened? In the garage, Ross Brawn's headset explodes with voices. He didn't stop. He just drove through. Is he okay? Did we miss him? What do we do? Ross doesn't answer any of them. He's watching the data. Michael exits the pit lane, back onto the track, still leading, still at 80, until he crosses the pit exit line. Then he accelerates, full throttle, like nothing happened. Ross keys the radio. Michael, what are you doing? No response. Michael, you didn't stop. You need to come back. No response. Michael, answer me. Finally Michael speaks. I'm fine. You didn't pit. I know. You need new tires. No, I don't. Michael, the front left is gone. It's on the canvas. It won't last. Michael's voice is calm, almost casual. It'll last. How do you know? Because I'm not pushing anymore. Ross doesn't understand. What do you mean you're not pushing? I'm driving at 95%. The tires will hold at 95%. I don't need new ones. Ross looks at the lap time. It's slower than before, but not much. Maybe half a second. Michael, you can't win at 95%. Montoya is closing. He's 18 seconds back. I have 37 laps left. I only need to stay ahead by 0.5 seconds per lap. I can do that at 95%. If he can hold 95%, if the tires don't fail, if nothing goes wrong, he can win without stopping. But it's a massive if. The biggest if in Formula One. Michael, this is insane. Michael doesn't respond. He just drives. Lap 33. The front left tire is holding. Barely. The canvas is exposed but the structure is intact. It's not failing yet. Michael brakes 10 meters earlier into every corner, turns in softer, accelerates later. He's treating the car like glass, fragile, delicate, one mistake away from disaster. But he's not making mistakes. He never makes mistakes. Lap 40. Montoya is 16 seconds back. He's closing, but slowly, too slowly. Michael is managing the gap perfectly, giving just enough, taking just enough, never more than necessary. In the Ferrari garage, the mechanics watch in silence. They've never seen anything like this. A driver refusing to pit, driving on destroyed tires, managing a race from memory and instinct. One of the tire engineers speaks quietly. He's going to crash. Another shakes his head. No, he's not. He knows exactly what he's doing. How? Because he's Michael Schumacher. Lap 50. The front left tire is shredded. The canvas is peeling. The inner belts are visible. It shouldn't be holding physically, structurally, it shouldn't be possible. But it is. Michael crosses the line. 10 laps to go. Montoya is 14 seconds back. He's going to make it, unless the tire fails, unless something breaks, unless the universe decides that what Michael is doing is too impossible to allow. But the universe doesn't decide. Michael does. The front left tire is gone. There's more canvas than rubber, more structure than tire. It's a skeleton holding together by will alone. Michael's will. He brakes into turn 1. The tire flexes but doesn't fail. He turns into turn 2. The tire slides but doesn't blow. He accelerates out of turn 3. The tire grips but doesn't shred. Lap after lap after lap. Holding, surviving, refusing to fail because Michael Schumacher refuses to fail. Lap 69. Final lap. Montoya is 12 seconds back. Too far, too late. Michael crosses the line. He wins, on tires that should have failed 30 laps ago, on a strategy that should have been impossible, on a decision that should have ended in disaster, but didn't, because Michael Schumacher doesn't play by the rules, he plays by results, and the result is victory. He slows on the cool-down lap. The front left tire finally gives out. The canvas peels completely. The tire deflates. Right on cue, right when it doesn't matter anymore. Michael limps back to the pits, the car wobbling, the tire flapping. He parks in Parc Fermé, climbs out. The team surrounds him, congratulating, celebrating. But Michael doesn't celebrate. He walks over to the tire, kneels down, looks at it. The mechanics follow. They stare at the tire. It's destroyed. Completely, utterly destroyed. One of them speaks quietly. How did this hold for 37 laps? Michael doesn't answer, because he doesn't know. He just knew it would. 3 hours later, FIA steward's office. Michael sits across from 3 officials. They're reviewing the pit lane footage, watching his car drive through the Ferrari pit box, watching the mechanics scatter. One of the stewards speaks. Mr. Schumacher, can you explain what happened on lap 32? Michael shrugs. I entered the pit lane. My team wasn't ready, I continued. You were supposed to stop. I wasn't required to stop. I was only required to enter the pit lane at the designated speed, which I did. You endangered your crew. No, I didn't. They had plenty of time to move. They had less than 2 seconds. 2 seconds is plenty. The steward leans forward. Mr. Schumacher, you drove through your pit box without stopping. That is a violation of sporting regulations. Which regulation? The steward pauses. He looks at his notes. There's no specific regulation. The rules say you must enter the pit lane at 80 kilometers per hour. They say you must not exceed the speed limit. They say you must follow the designated path. But they don't say you must stop, because no one ever thought a driver wouldn't stop. The steward sits back. We're issuing a warning. If you do this again, it will be a penalty. Michael nods. Understood. But inside he's smiling, because there won't be a penalty, because he's not going to do it again. He doesn't need to. He proved his point, that sometimes the fastest way to win is to never slow down at all. That evening, in the Ferrari motorhome, Ross Brawn sits with Michael. That was insane, Ross says. Michael sips water. But it worked. You could have crashed. The tire could have failed. You could have lost. But I didn't. Ross shakes his head. How did you know the tire would hold? Michael thinks for a moment. I didn't know. I believed. That's not good enough. Michael smiles. It was today. Ross doesn't argue, because Michael is right. Belief was enough. Belief, and the ability to drive at 95% for 37 laps without making a single mistake. Why didn't you stop? Ross asks. Michael looks at him. Because stopping meant losing, and I don't lose. You would have been second. That's not losing. Michael's face hardens. Second is losing, and that's the difference. That's why Michael Schumacher is Michael Schumacher. Because for him, there is no second place. There is only first, or nothing. In the end, Formula One changed the rules. They added a regulation. Cars entering the pit lane must stop in their designated pit box. It's called the Schumacher rule. Not officially, but everyone knows. It was written because of Austria 2002, because of the pit stop that never happened, because of the moment Michael Schumacher drove through his own pit box and proved that sometimes the fastest way to win is to never slow down at all. 0.0 seconds. The pit stop that wasn't, the decision that was, the moment that changed Formula One forever. Not because it was fast, but because it was fearless. And Michael Schumacher was never afraid, not of crashing, not of failing, not of breaking the rules, because for him, the only rule that mattered was this: win, and he never did lose.